Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Thursday night Murdathon. And tonight, I'm going to be discussing a rather strange exploitation case. I became aware of this 2 days ago and dug into this as best I could. Now, this um, starts off way back around 2013 or so, uh, with the story of Tammy and Jonah Earl Reef. Now, the story goes that Tammy had Jonah out of wedlock, and everything was going well until around 2013, um, when um, an individual um, got involved in the case. He claimed that he was uh, the child's father, and Tammy rather said that he is not. That she had the father was someone that she had known for a long time, and it certainly was not this man in California who said that uh, the child was hers. Now, how this developed into something that I was brought attention to had to do with a post that appeared over on Telegram. And the post um, stated that Jesse Sobar, or however the hell you pronounce her name, had gotten involved with this case. She had contacted Tammy and told her a tale, and the short of it was that she should be able to get the child back. Uh, this is something that has not uh, been um, proven or off to fruition. Good evening, Sarah. Welcome. Um, Says bar. All right, that's good enough. Sounds like she's a candy bar, but that'll work. And and not sure when the date was, but she apparently contacted the grandparents of the child and stated she could get the child back for a fee. And it is said that the grandparents paid money to Jesse, and Jesse came back at a later time and said the child had been labeled something, I'm not sure what, and child of the devil or whatever the hell she came up with. But the gist of it was that Jesse did not give the money back to the grandparents. Now, this is a classic case of wire fraud, and it's a criminal offense. And also, depending on the age of the grandparents, this could be exploitation of the elderly. Now, as it happens, um, our good friend to me, Charles Holmseth, might be in the middle of all this. And why is that? Well, because of an article that appeared on October of 2020, where Holmseth was in the thick of trying to say that Levi Page was Levi Chandler, who was a fairly well known model. He's now an adult, but when he was in an early age, he did a lot of modeling. And as it turns out, if I can find where it is in his article, and naturally I don't have it, but in a excerpt in the picture appears this. And Holmseth apparently is using this child's photograph as either as Levi Page at an extremely young age or as the Levi Chandler's son, or of Levi Chandler. So we have Levi Chandler, Levi Page, but this is in reality uh, Jonah Earl Rief. Now, what is interesting is that there seems to be a close collaboration between Jesse and Timmy. If you go over on Jesse's Twitter account, you will notice that she retransmits just about every comment that Tim Holmseth makes on his social media or whoever it is that is handling Tim Holmseth. Now, based on the um, what you would call forensic linguistics of Jesse, she may be, in fact, uh, this CWB builder or whoever that mysterious uh, person is right now. But they apparently have had this big merger where they get together and uh, get funds off of each other. Because lo and behold, here is Jesse putting up a GoFundMe because she has a housing crisis of some form. Now, this is in virtually the same format that um, Timmy uses for all his fundraisers. Um, what would you say? The sites used, the format of the appeals that are written out. It is almost as if somebody wrote GoFundMe's for all these individuals. But what we have here, however, is we have this woman who is missing her son. Don't know exactly where the truth lies in this. I mean, is this a another one of these situations where um, a woman is using the public to plead her case, and there may be a legitimate reason for someone to have stepped in and taken this child? Or is this a standard custody battle where the ex, whatever he is, used this child um, against the mother, took the child, and it's unknown what has happened to the child? Now, I understand that Tammy's sister is acting on her behalf in all this, and it would be nice if I could get a hold of her or somebody could so we could get the full story of what happened here. I don't mind telling the story without taking sides. I can put her case out there and let people decide for themselves. But the um, problem here is that Tim Holmseth is once again barged into a missing child case and has tossed around these conspiracy theories. Um, you know, Levi Page is not Levi Chandler. He's not this child. He is Levi Page. I mean, a simple DNA test would clear all of this up, like it would a lot of things that Tim Holmseth seems to get himself involved in. But the uh, problem with all this is here we have a woman trying to figure out what happened to her child, and we've got total strangers um, barging into this woman's life and making a hell of a lot of money off it. And as the latest I have been able to find on this woman's late plea for help is around 2018. I haven't been able to find anything later than that. There are a lot of articles flowing around regarding this missing child, um, and the odd circumstances behind it, and the individual that has been accused of kidnapping the child and taking the child to Australia. So, what needs to be done here is to find out what the truth of all this is. But this brings up something rather interesting. Now, 2020 is a year that a lot happened, and the fall of 220 is the year a lot happened. That a lot happened. Um, Timmy Holmseth was supposed to go on trial. Um, Phil McConnell had his problems start in 2020. Um, and Neely Blanchard is alleged to have shot Chris Hallett in 2020. Oh yeah, there's COVID always. This always gets into the mix. But what we have here uh, is a lot of coincidences, and the one big coincidence that has been going on is that um, there is a lot of tales going around about Neely Petrie Blanchard. Neely Petrie Blanchard is innocent, according to uh, Tim Holmseth, and everybody in that group has jumped on board with that. Now, why is that? Well, let's look at a few things. We have Cynthia Absug, we have Neely Petrie Blanchard, now we have Tammy Rief, and to mix all this together, we have E-Clause, and we have Timothy Charles Holmseth, and we have now Jesse. And I have always wondered why they have concentrated on steering people away from the Neely Blanchard case. What is the um, diversion here? Why are they trying to have us all take the eye off the ball? Well, actually, it comes in a statement that Neely Blanchard said during her interview. And that is that she has a laptop, and on the laptop, she has a lot of evidence against E-Clause and those around E-Clause. What this may mean is that possibly they are trying to convince um, Cynthia Abzug that they are on her side and would help her get out of her situation by spreading this information around that she is innocent in order to poison any potential jury, and that they don't like my coverage because of the fact that I am bringing out actual court records having to do with Neely Blanchard and her calling E-Clause and those around E-Clause, including Kirk Pendergrass, a fraud. And maybe one of the reasons they wanted to divert all of us away from this is this particular case, that they have attempted to get funds from the grandparents of a missing child by attempting to um, be someone of interest. What I'm talking about here, John, is how the Blanchard case, the Absug case, and now this Jonah Earl Rief case may all be part of the same problem. That the reason why Holmseth is doing what he's doing with the Blanchard case is to draw attention away from the story of Jonah Earl Rief and other cases similar to this that might be out there. Because when you go back and look at when Tim Holmseth put up this picture of Jonah, no one knew about the case. There has been very little uh, or no mention of it. Yeah, you're correct, Tien. The Reef case was from 2013 to 2018, but there was mentions of the case up until 2018. The mother had appealed over on Facebook and on other social media that her son had been missing uh, for 6 years at the time, which would have put it uh, 2013, 2014 that the child had been kidnapped. Um, or even, if it started in 2012, then that's 2009. That's 2018. So you have all this lining up where the woman had been busy for 6 years trying to figure out what happened to her son. And at some point in 2018, that had stopped. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later in 2020, this image shows up on Tim Holmseth's page. And um, all this started. Now, Tim Holmseth, had, this is predictable. But anyway, now that we got rid of that problem, let us take a look at um, this file. Let me trying to get back in here. Now, this is a Homeseth article. Um, I don't know why I'm getting. There, that's what I want. Now, if we scroll down, now we've got Levi Chandler and Levi Page. So Homeseth tried to say that Levi Page was Levi Chandler. And so we have this in here, all this stuff about trying to compare him to Levi Chandler. Yet, if you go down here, in the top right hand corner is this child. And the problem with this, for someone that is trying to say that Levi Page looks like Levi Chandler, why is he using a picture of Jonah Rief in this article? Um, and so what this means is that somehow Tim Holmseth got a photograph of Jonah and used it in this article. And So Tim Holseth says that this is supposed to be Levi Chandler. Now, how did Jonah Rief suddenly turn into Levi Chandler? Well, it's because someone provided Timmy with this image. More than likely, her, since they were in collaboration and it probably started around this time. Um, because a lot of things, the center point of 2020 was a lot of things were starting to change in the home Seth social media grouping. Uh, he dropped out of sight. You rarely saw him except for an occasional selfie. And now it's been quite a long time since he's done any selfies at all. The only time you hear about Tim Homeseth is through articles on the various social media. And there is no proof that Tim Homeseth is actually writing on any media. Um, now, there's a video up on BitChute that's not very complimentary of Tim Homeseth, yet nobody's taken it down. And it might be uh, because somebody at the administrative level has gotten into BitChute and locked that video in there and they can't get it out. And so now we have this situation breaking, that it is alleged that Jesse has stolen money from the grandparents of this child and never gave it back. Now, someone needs to tell the grandparents that they may have a case of wire fraud and exploitation here, um, to pursue. Um, and this is how these people are operating. They are finding desperate parents and guardians of these children and making promises that they could arrest the officers at CPS, they could get their child back, they could get all these investigations going and punish those responsible. And it turns out they can't do a damn thing. You know, and yeah, I'm going to have to look at that video. But this is just another example of how people are being taken advantage of because they get themselves in desperate situations. And this is a defense that Neely Blanchard is using in her case, that she was sucked into this world of fraud by people that said they could help her get her child back. And when she found out that she had been played for a sucker, her temper got the better of her and she killed Chris Hallett. She could have gone down a different route, going to the FBI, going out in public on the air, on social media, and explaining the fraud. But instead, she chose to uh, murder Chris Hallett, which was the wrong path, and now she has to live with her actions. It's hard to say what's going to happen with Neely. That's all going to depend on the court. But now we have this case to look at. Um, is anything going to become of this case? Hard to say. Are there other cases out there? That would be a good thing to know of. If there are any more victims of Tim Homeseth in this group, I would like to be able to get their story out there so we can find out the extent of this problem. Um, there has to be more out there than just these 4 or 5 cases. Now, there are 2 or 3 other cases out there where uh, other women fell for this fantasy. One woman uh, realized at the last minute that she was being tricked and didn't go through with it, turned around and went back to Denver. Um, and there's a woman out west that got herself arrested, and I never did find out the. Um, okay, we have this here now. Um, this is another side of the story, perhaps. I would like all the information on that. Um, and so I could get this out there. This might explain why everything came to a screeching halt in 2017. It would also, or 2018, it would also uh, would point out to um, what happened to the child. Where is the child now? Um, but the thing is this: if the grandparents had nothing to do with the kidnapping, and Jesse came in and took advantage of that, and um, this is still wire fraud and exploitation of the elderly because she got money under false pretenses because of it. And well, she is a good-looking woman. I'll say that. Now, whether or not it's an actress or she might even been an actress, but she just she shows up in this picture here, um, and she does have a current Facebook account, even though it's just kind of sitting there. So if she kidnapped her own child and made up this whole thing, then that makes this whole situation worse because now people are running around saying she's the victim when she may be the perpetrator. And the important thing here is what is the truth and why did Jesse and Timmy intervene in this case? If this is a case of parental kidnapping, very much like both the Absud case and the Blanchard case, you know, this is where we're at. The fundraiser could have been at any time by anyone. I think if I read correctly, it was a sister that set up the fund and it didn't generate very much money. Um, now, the thing to understand, the thing to find out is what is the current status of this woman? If she was arrested, where was she arrested at? And, what is the truth here? And how did the story come about where Jesse was raising money in order to get this child back from Australia? And what did the grandparents know or did not know about the truth about their daughter and their grandchild? This is all things that need to be looked at because this is one of these things where things aren't always the way they appear to be. But in the middle of all this, we have this child who is used as bait for something. And these groups got involved, didn't check the background out to see if this woman was telling the truth. And now we have this complicated situation uh, about what is going on with this case. And I have been told that there's a lot of information about the arrest and so forth, and now I got to figure out where it's at. It's always best to send me email. Okay. So if you could send me. Okay, so we got that part. The child is now with the father. Um, so this is another one of these where the mother was lying allegedly about what happened to the child, and it is now back with the parent that she should be with. So, but what um, is true in this case is that this child was exploited. That um, he was used to raise money, possibly from the grandparents and from donation drives. And now we have a story within a story. What is the true story of Jonah and his kidnapping? And, how did all this come about? Why did she kidnap the child? How did they find the child? How did they return the child? Um, and so on and so forth. But okay, I will do that. Um, I had just done that and it must not have gotten in there yet. Let me go back in and check. But I will do a separate stream about this based on the information I get so we can get some idea of what. Okay. Woman arrested in Idler on charge of kidnapping 4-year-old son. Son was extradited Tuesday to California. Um, okay. Apparently, the woman lied, and Tammy Claire Reef, 45, was picked up in DeKalb County Jail by investigators from the San Diego District Attorney's Office after a governor's warrant was issued so she could be extradited to face trial, according to DeKalb County. This is, I believe, Georgia. Um, Rief was initially arrested in North Carolina on a fugitive from justice warrant out of California, but after making bond and being released from North Carolina, she left the state. Yeah, that's how the U.S. Marshals got involved. And so let's see, let me go back up. It says she was arrested in July 13th, 2013. So that means subsequent to that, somebody was using um, her child in this thing to, but this just goes to show that you cannot rely on what you see on these boards when it comes to people um, making these kind of appeals. Now she had been the one who kidnapped the child and not the father. The father got the child back. So this was all one big fraud. Just like a lot of these things that wind up on these victims of child kidnapping boards. It's all um, one side. You always need to hear, why am I frozen? Oh, there we go. I don't know. For whatever reason, thing froze up. But hello, Brad. Oh, first time. But yeah, it's this is why it is hard to take sides with people that make these accusations, because if you dig far enough into these stories, it turns out that this was not a true story. And when people like Jesse come along, they don't care if the story is true or not. They see an opportunity to make money, and that's what they do. And the same is true of Tim Holmseth. It's all one big, happy, money making, grifting family. And in the case of Neely Blanchard, it is going to be the court that is going to give out the truth. It's not going to be any of us, it's going to be the court and the jury. And if Neely has uh, evidence that could blow this fraud out of the water, she now has potential ammunition to use if the trial does not go her way. If she winds up getting prosecuted or charged, and it looks like she's going to be prosecuted or charged, she can go to her attorneys and say, try to cut a deal with the state of Florida. Because I have good information to give them about uh, a whole bunch of people that they could use to arrest other people, including uh, that's weird. So, just reading some information that came my way, and it's nothing, nothing of any import, really. But all right, that's enough of that. But it Neely Blanchard has an opportunity to come clean, uh, and this would mitigate her case. You know, she proclaims to have stuff on her laptop and paperwork both that was in her possession at the time of her arrest in Georgia, and this information could expose this whole grift empire, and possibly the prosecution would get into some kind of a plea deal uh, to give her a lesser included charge. Uh, Second degree uh, murder, get into the various manslaughter charges and so forth. So, but I had not been paying too much attention to Jessie. I really wasn't interested in her, but it's getting to be a situation looking into her activities that she may be more directly involved with some of the nonsense that's going on here, and that she may be one of the people that Neely Blanchard has information on. Um, yeah, I've been reading some of that stuff over there, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense. It's as if Jesse is into more just devil worship and witchcraft and anything than in being a crusader for abused children being used in rituals. It's a mishmash of nonsense. And one thing I would like to get back to is Tim Holmsess and this claim about um, Levi Page being this other person. Now, even the Levi Chandler situation, if you go back to the age of Levi Chandler and even the youngest age that Tim Homestead declares of Levi Page, there is still a big difference in age. And even if Levi Page was 20 years old in 2019 or a little bit older, this doesn't add up to the Chandler timeline because how old is Chandler now? How old was he back in 2019? And so forth. And there is a big age difference. So the two possibly can't be the same. But Timmy doesn't think of these things. He just comes up with this lunacy. Um, and what can you do? The people are going to believe it no matter what. They're still going to believe it, even with tonight's live stream. They'll come up with excuses as to why this all happened. And, it'll be interesting to see what they come up with because they do a pretty damn good job of spinning uh, this stuff. So they'll have their little secret meeting and they'll say, okay, how are we going to deal with this latest business that they've discovered about us? And well, if Jesse is a practicing witch, then this goes against the grain of the rest of Telegram because they run around calling everybody else witches. And here, if Jesse is a practicing witch, why are they associating with a practicing witch? I thought this was against God's teaching or something like that. This whole thing is confusing about Jesse. Uh, her timeline about all this stuff that she wants to testify to Congress about doesn't make any sense because, um, she's claiming that some of the stuff happened when she was 3 years old and she remembered it. Child doesn't have um, good memory skills at that age. So it would be possible that she could not have remembered this stuff. So it's all crap. And she's blaming people for 25 murders and stuff. I mean, it's weird. And now we got somebody saying that she's not a practicing witch. So, what's to believe? But what we have here is one major scam being run by these two individual groups, the PPTF and whatever Jesse is up to. So, But she is repeating everything that Tim Holmseth puts out on Twitter. And she's been doing so for quite some time. And this is because Tim Holmseth is not allowed on Twitter. And so he's using a third party to get his stuff out there. Yeah, that's always the case here is that these people find someone who has mental issues and enable these mental issues. The people never get the help they need, and when they find themselves in a situation, they get abandoned. And this will probably the merger between Jesse and Timmy will probably break up at some point when he realizes that she's no longer useful. You know, because if you examine the backgrounds of all these people, there's always somebody in there. Oh, just me is in here, uh, and commenting over on Telegram and says that she remembers when she was 26 months. And if that's the case, you're an extraordinarily rare because um, my mother was a registered nurse, and so was my sister. And they would know, and because I asked them that question when I was very young, as far as how far back can an average child remember things, and the average is 3 years. 26 months is 2 years and 6 months, so it's pretty close to that 3 year timeline, which is 36, or 36, um, 3 years. But 26 is just a little over 2 years. Um, and so, and doesn't, who knows if Just B's telling the truth or not? Just because she says she remembered something that far back doesn't mean it's the truth. I really don't trust what people say. Um, and this is published on CNN Health, and it said most of us don't have any memories from the first 3 or 4 years of our lives. In fact, we tend to remember very little of life before the age of 7. Now, if Just Me can remember back as far as 26 months, then she is rare. And another study says earliest memories start at 2.5, which is, possibly her being correct. But that's still to remember the sharp details that Jesse wants to remember could be categorized as false memory. So, you know, and it doesn't matter to debate these people because they're going to believe in what they want to believe anyway. Uh, well, it looks like we have a Jesse supporter in here now. Well, I'll tell you, Brad, if Jessie is guilty of the accusation that's been made against her, she's in very serious trouble because that is wire fraud and it's exploitation of the elderly. And she's also would have been taking the side of a woman who faked a kidnapping. So there's a lot of criminal actions here. But Jessie says what she says, allegedly to get money. Because we have all these GoFundMe sites up there and the websites and all this other stuff. Uh, Depends on how you look at it, Brad. Uh, but, she says false things about me on Twitter. She repeats false content, and that is negative. So, in that aspect, her content is negative. She puts out stuff there accusing me of being whitey bulger. That's lying. That's negative content. Uh, she puts things out there accusing people of murdering children who are completely innocent. That is negative content. And that's not all she does. So there is your negative content. Lying for money is negative content. And on top of it, now we have this accusation that she took money from the child's grandparents under false pretenses, and that is wire fraud. All right, let me look at this. All right. Okay, this thing is. Okay. Twitter's acting up on me again. Well, that's why I'm in the wrong account. Ah, damn it. Spilled my. Sweetie, would you get me a cloth? I spilled my Pepsi. Well, if Lori, or I mean, if Jessie is guilty of wire fraud, she is the fish to be fried. Oh, it came up on here. Okay. Okay, I forgot about Messenger. Here. Well, I was, I agree with you on that one. You're on camera. Yeah, that's all right. Cheryl was helping me out with a Pepsi problem here, and that's the end of the Pepsi problem. Well, Tim could be a poster boy for being kooks. So it's likes attract. And let me see if, but the Pepsi catastrophe interrupted me a little bit here. Here we go. All right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Jesse's an even bigger fraud than Tim Homeseth is, and the problem is there are people out there that believe in this crap, and so these people wind up making good money off it, lots of good money off it. But to reel back to the core subject tonight, if Jesse took money from the grandparents under false pretenses, that is wire fraud. It doesn't matter the circumstances behind the mother and the child. It is the fact that she offered something that she could not fulfill, she had no power to fulfill. That's wire fraud. And if the parents are elderly, then it's exploitation of the elderly. And more than likely they'll get away with it. I mean, uh, but it's but at least people know now that it's like she did this, and they can judge for themselves. But there's a lot of truth that came out tonight in regards to this case. It just shows that you cannot rely on what's on the internet. When people say something, it's not true. It's more than likely not true. That you get people that make claims that are not true. I mean, Tim Holsett does it every day. Says he's all this stuff um, about being one man from the president, about um, infiltrating the finders, infiltrating Epstein, and now his latest is that he infiltrated QAnon. That his association with QAnon was a big lie in order to bring up stuff about QAnon. And I actually said something to the effect. I said back in the January 6th days, he was actually informing the FBI of people he knew directly that took part in the January 6th insurrection. And so this might be part of what he did is he found out the name of some of the people involved in that and turned it over to the FBI. Yeah, the, the finders is something that they don't even care if they make mistakes or not. It's one of these things where uh, he says all this stuff about the finders because he know nobody's going to check on it. Nobody's going to care about the finders. It's just something he infiltrated. And so, he goes on and on and on about infiltrating all these groups. I don't know what QAnon specifically, but he said that he infiltrated the QAnons and found that they were part of some brotherhood or something. And somebody made the accusation early on, just after the um, January 6th incident, that he knew some of the QAnon and was turning their names over to the FBI. Remember, he says he's an FBI witness, so he would use his FBI connection to turn these people into the FBI. And some of the people that got caught, somewhere around 30 of them, was a direct result of Tim Holmsted's information. But because the QAnon fad has fallen out of favor with a lot of people and people have moved on from QAnon, Tim Holmstad has decided to do the same. And now he's running around claiming that he infiltrated QAnon. And yeah, I agree with you, Paul. Jolly, people still believe in this crap. This stuff was debunked almost from the beginning. It was nonsensical to begin with. But, there's people that still believe it. And now Tim Holmstad has turned his back on it. And QAnon is what got him where he is today, or part of it, because his affiliation with QAnon and all these right wing channels is what grew his audience. But now he realizes that he's not going anywhere with QAnon, so he's jumped over to something else, and he's hanging on to Trump's coattails for as long as he can there. Because Trump seems to be the only thing keeping him above water at this point, because he follows Trump and believes in Trump, he gets all these people that believe him. But there's going to come a day when even that's not going to save him. All right, I'm going to take one last look at the freak show over there, since they like to come in here and look at my show. And here is the FBI reporter for Neely Blanchard trial. Are you your own mother? Well, yeah, I figured they'd pull that thing out. That was a recording of an illegal phone call, if they're playing what I think they're playing. But, this intense personal attack against me um, is proof positive that something weird is going on over there. They are trying to sidetrack everything. And every time I go on the air with something, they pull out the smear card because they can't argue facts. They have to argue rumor, innuendo, and stuff of that nature. And this is getting it. There are more and more people that are getting tired of this. They argue that we don't want to hear about this kind of crap. They want the truth, they want the facts, they want to know exactly what's going on, and all they are getting is what seems to be an online pissing match. And they're drifting away. And they're being left with this core group that believe everything, and they're also getting people that are just curious about what's going on. They come, they look, they go away. Because if you look through their timeline, and look at who's posting over there, it's a limited number of people. It's almost the same as here because I get on average 20 people a night on this show and a core group that comment. It's the same over there. So we're even on what you would call active audience. They may have more subscribers and stuff, but that's because of the nature of the boards. But the numbers are truer over here than they are over there. And it's the same as with Big Shoot. Um, but more and more, you're getting people making comments over there that, you know, all we're seeing is the same stuff being recycled. We're not seeing any truth. Their latest thing is what's in your hot dog? I mean, oh, wow. Now we got to worry about our hot dogs. And, they're going after David Strait, and that's it. The bulk of their current stuff is being done on um, Telegram. That seems to be their home nesting ground for now. And so you're on Telegram, you're limited to your audience there. You're limited to the far right, people that agree with everything you have to say. And that's not going to matter to the outside world. That certainly isn't going to matter to the courts. And so, in a month and a half or so, when we get, well, almost exactly a month from now, when we get into the Neely Blanchard trial, uh, we may find out more truth. And I will have more information coming out from the state attorney's office in the following weeks. More discovery of um, conversations and regular evidence. So, well, Brad, uh, I suppose uh, we would do legitimate things like report on court cases, like I had intended to do tomorrow, and continue reporting on such things as um, Neely Petrie Blanchard as her case progresses through the court and the aftermath, and science and technology, which is my background. Um, so the sooner that Timmy goes away, the better. I am not interested in Jessie all that much, but she's got herself tangled up in with Timmy, and she certainly is interested in me because if you look at the comments, at the content of her Twitter page, I take up 80% of it. Now, why is she so interested in me? It's because of Homestead. And so, when people start making false accusations about me and retransmitting it, they are on my radar. So that is on Jessie. She would be wise to stop talking about me on Twitter. But of course, she's got herself brainwashed by Timmy, so she's probably not going to do that. And she's got herself involved in this particular case, and I intend to look at it. And so that's it in a nutshell. It's the same reason I talk about Timmy. He will not shut up about me. He will not correct his lies, and thus I have to pay attention to him. So, it's not fun to be lied to, Brad. I mean, this woman is retransmitting accusations of murder against me. Tim Holmseth has accused me of murdering at least 10 different people. And I don't like that because it's not true. He compares me to Whitey Bulger, which is nuts. A simple DNA test would clear all this up, just like a DNA test would clear up this Levi Chandler thing or whatever his name is with Levi Page. And Tim doesn't care that he lies and he damages people in the process. He just does it because he He's a narcissist. He's crazy as a, he's just crazy. So, so we will see what happens. And so that's it for tonight, folks. I just wanted to let you know about this latest accusation, and I am going to follow through on this story to see exactly what happened and how all this came about, because a lot of this is going to be public record. So I guess I got to start doing some research on that. So sometime in the future, I'll return to this case and we'll close it out. And I don't know if I'm going to Leesburg or Tavares tomorrow or not. I have a scheduling conflict that I have to deal with. Um, yeah, see that's because they are worried. Uh, my coverage of the Neely Blanchard case has riled them up to a level that I haven't seen in the past. I'm close to something here, and they don't like it. They're scared of it, and I think it's because Neely Blanchard has a lot on all of them. And Neely Blanchard is going to reveal it all, either in the discovery evidence or possibly in statements she makes after the trial, because she is determined that the truth comes out about these people. Um, Sarah, um, the gun is more than likely her husband's service revolver from the Coast Guard. The caliber of the gun matches the description of what was given to the authorities. It is likely that the gun belonged to her husband, and that's how she obtained it. Now, this may and may not be correct. Um, TN, I don't think that's correct. Now, if it is, then that would make Neely, or that would make Randy Erickson an accomplice to the murder, because if she supplied the weapon to a convicted felon, then she is guilty as much as Neely is in the murder. So we're going to find out what's true. Sharp, this would be the gun that was used to kill um, Chris Halleck. Now, what I've been able to find out so far is it is likely that the gun belongs to her husband. But if it turns out that Neely Blanchard got the gun from Randy Erickson, then Randy Erickson is guilty of selling a convicted felon a firearm, and that would also make her an accomplice to the murder, because any accomplice in a murder is guilty of the murder. That's the way these things work out. So we will find out at some point where the gun came from and all the truth about this case. And maybe we will find out why this weirdness is coming out of Timmy's crazy world and his cult. Why they are trying to divert attention away from the Blanchard case, why they are calling that Blanchard absolutely innocent in spite of her confessing to doing what she did. It's, you know, they're gonna stretch this out for as long as they can. But their problem for them is the trial is coming and the truth is going to come out. And a jury is going to decide what the truth is. And so the DNA that is on the gun is going to show who owned it. And that so all the speculation that Timmy does, all this nonsense on this arrested suddenly nonsense is not going to accomplish anything except make them look worse when the verdict is handed down. And so that is that. Oh, I'm almost certain of it, Rebecca, because this is why they're going down the avenue they're going down, because they um, are desperate. Timmy might be in a hell of a lot of trouble now because of this other case. He might be in trouble there because he's exploiting a child to spread defamatory content. And then we have his new friend over there trying to get money off the grandparents of this same child and not returning it. So, well, there's not only emails, there's telephone calls, uh, jail visits, all kinds of stuff that's going to be coming out. Um, because I don't think people realize that Florida jails and prisons record everything you say and do. They open up and photograph all letters sent in and out of the court. And this is all public information that you can get if you know who to ask. And I've done that. And so there's a lot of things coming out that is going to answer a lot of questions. And so that, and there's even a podcast coming out by by the witness for the prosecution that's in discovery. And so there's a lot going on, and a lot to look forward to in the weeks to come. So, and the next few weeks, I'm going to start putting things out. I still have material from the current batch of discovery that I have not put out yet, because I'm having to figure out the best way to do it. But this stuff will be out there. I might just say the hell with it, throw it up raw, and people can look at it because there's body cam footage that's maybe 10 minutes long, and all it is like the deputies are winding around. They blur the screen because they're in talking to the grandmother or his mother, and you can't hear anything. And then it stops, and all you see is him going out the door and turning the body cam off. You know, but that's stuff that I haven't put up yet. So we'll see. So anyway, Uh, gonna wish you guys a good night. Please like, subscribe, share, and hit the notification button and stay tuned because I have more things about different things coming up. And I will find out one way or another what happens tomorrow with the Johnson case to see. It's a pre-trial, and he's going to be going on an actual sentencing trial the 15th of May. So Holmseth got it wrong about that one. The case is still open. He was adjudicated on 3 out of 4 of the cases of not guilty, but this fourth one, the more serious one, he's taking a plea bargain on. So good night, and until we meet again, have a good one.